So, ULTRAKILL. You know this game, right? It's like one of the two reasons anybody even watches this channel. The funny early access game where you're a super death robot killing things for fuel? Yeah, that one. Well, a couple months back, the developer released an update that, among other things, gave us a buff called Radiance. It's pretty simple, just makes the enemies deal more damage, take more damage, and move at speeds incomprehensible to the human mind. Knowing that the player base would want to challenge themselves with more than just one Radiance tier, the devs let us set the tier of the buff, which changes the multiplier the buff gives to enemies. Going into Sandbox, we can see that the max Radiance tier it lets us go to is Radiance 10. So I'm going to take that and just assume it's to the max because I want to. So, what if I, in my unending genius, force every enemy in the game to be Radiance 10 and then run through the entire campaign? O-1. I grab the gun and immediately break the glass, since you can skip the first room here. The only rules of this challenge are that the end level results must show while having Radiance 10 activated at all times and being on violent difficulty. Checkpoints are allowed, as seen here, since Pain is not my middle name and P ranks were already long forgotten. After it starts to sink in just how much this is going to hurt due to the enemy's Mach speed travel, I use saws since they're much easier to hit the filth with, as I don't have to aim. Now, if you're decently familiar with ULTRAKILL, you might realize that I did a bad here. You see, there's a clip that is a great time saver called Pipe Clip, and it could send me all the way to the Maurice room at the end of the level. I forgot about it when I did this run, so we're sticking with the long route. Luckily, the next two rooms allow me to insta-kill the filth that spawn via glass, so it's not a massive problem. What is a big problem, however, is the room that follows. I spent way longer on this room than I'd like to admit. I tried various strategies, but eventually settled on something that we'll be using pretty often in this run. Using the whiplash, which is a grappling hook, I can bring the smaller enemies to me and punch them into the floor with the knuckle blaster, which is just big red arm. I found out that this doesn't deal an amount of damage, it just kinda kills the enemies. Or it does damage so absurd that it doesn't matter the health they have. After a grueling amount of time, I beat the room and I move on to this hall. It's the parry tutorial room, which is a mechanic that won't be all too helpful to us since projectiles and melee attacks alike are so fast that they'll sometimes just phase through me without damage. I had the right approach when I first entered the room, I just suffered from skill issue. Moving on, I take sort of a lame route through this room by hiding in a spot where the enemies can't attack me, but I can't be blamed all that much. These enemies are pain. The next room can just be skipped by evading the spawn trigger, so that's what I did. And that leads to the Maurice room, where I could have just gone to immediately if I had used the pipe clip, but I digress. After attempting to actually fight Maurice for a bit, I just kinda hope for a charge back since that'll insta-kill it. And there we go. We did it! Woo! We beat the first level! Yay! Alright, O-2. After staying at the serve for a couple seconds, I go and immediately get obliterated since I didn't know I could just skip these two strays. After skipping them and dropping the filth into the grinders below, I move into the first room where you can see Swords Machine run by. I then realize I will die standing where I was, so I head to the small secret room to see Swords Machine obliterate a bunch of husks and then clip through the wall and die. Oh, that's neat. Don't know how useful that'll be, though. I cheese my way through this room using coins and cheap tactics, after dying a few times, and proceed not to grab the blue skull, as I didn't know if I wanted to allow all exits or not. I do, so this and 1-1 are actually easier than I made them be. These two filth are fast enough to actually escape the doom they spawn in, so I have to put them down myself. Then the next crusher room happens, which is only decently easy due to how the crushers can be used to my advantage, since they kill enemies without caring for their health. Unfortunately, in the next room, while the first two strays do get crushed, the others survive Swords Machine and its cool exit. This results in me dying since I didn't want to rush past the crusher for some reason. Take 2. I get to the checkpoint and run to the next room. Going to the left instead of forward would be an easier win with or without the skull, as with the skull you get to end the level immediately, and without the skull you can crawl into an airway to get to the final room. But that's a smart thing to do. We don't do that here. So instead I work my way through this room mirroring swords machines, die several times, realize those strays that lived actually persist through restarts, and made my way to the final arena where I realize this room is trivially easy due to the fact that you can just hide under the crushers and have every enemy just die instantly, by themselves. So remember Swords Machine? Yeah, it's here now. My first thought when going into this level was to skip all of it and go to the Swords Machine fight immediately, bypassing all their enemy encounters. The problem I thought of at the time was that then I'd have to work through both Swords Machine health bars without a checkpoint in between, prompting me to go through the level normally instead. The first level can be skipped, and the second room is easy due to just how fast the Stray's projectiles are, being able to phase through me with no harm to my being. The third room is our first Schism encounter, and I started taking it cautiously before realizing I'm dumb and can just grapple punch them the same way I do Strays. The next room is where Swords Machine decides to do that. After struggling for a bit on how I want to approach this, I realized I could escape the arena with various explosives and cheese Swords Machine by just standing atop this column and whittling away his health. Alright, look, nobody saw that. That never happened. After taking down Swords Machine's first health bar on my very first attempt at that fight, I do an actually smart move and backtrack to the start, skipping the rest of the level, and fighting Swords Machine's Part 2 immediately. Phase 2, while having more health, reveals something I tried to use to my advantage, being that Swords Machine doesn't attack when it throws its sword. Swords Machine is still very deadly, however, and it's going to take a lot of skill and good movements to... Alright, that works too. Next level. Okay, so O-4 starts off with an immediate pain room. Several strays and filth, with a Maurice partway through as well. Luckily, a small hiding spot exists because a secret was stashed there, allowing me to cheese every enemy in the room. This is where a majority of my time on this level was spent, since the rest of this level has areas that allow for either instant kills by the environment, or places where enemies simply can't reach, allowing for a relatively easy level. Oh boy, the boss of Prelude, Cerberus. I can't wait to get absolutely pulverized here. Here we go! Oh. Wait, can I just make both of them dash out of bounds? Oh, I can. Well then. That's a bit anticlimactic. You know, if you're fast enough, you might be able to get an S on style. This could be like the one level you could theoretically P-rank. Well, I guess that ends Prelude. Yeah, 1-1, the other level I mentioned in O-2. You can beat this level in, like, 7 seconds if you use the secret route, which I later deemed to be fair game, but during this run I decided not to. I regret that decision quickly when I enter the first room with enemies in it. Here are drones, an utter pain to deal with in Radiance 10. Even in my best cheesing spots I can find, they're still hard to deal with. After about 10 minutes of dying to this room, I bolt through the next room since the door doesn't lock. Same with every other room until the final one, as the enemies have to actually be cleared there in order to exit the level. Luckily, the top area with the first slab is very handy here, as it allows me to cheese most of this fight, with mild drone inconveniences. Learn from me, just take the secret exit to 1-S. It'll save you a lot of pain. 1-2. Skip through the first arena since the door doesn't lock. Use the top pathway that houses a secret orb to cheese the fight in this small room. Use the electric rail can to skip to the final room of the level, and hide behind a pillar throwing coins until every enemy is dealt with. 1-3, along with having a banger soundtrack, also has a bar of soap that insta-kills anything it touches, making this level much easier due to the fact that I can just touch something and it dies. Just grab the soap, kill the Maurice, leave the soap on the red pedestal, go down the secret health orb path, grab the blue skull, go back up the secret health orb path, open the split door, grab the soap, kill the hideous mass that emerges, and win. Oh boy, V2. I'd be more concerned if this fight wasn't super cheesable. The coin punch trick won't work due to the abundance of health, but the window V2 enters from can be used to glitch out of bounds, letting you get to the outside area with V2 spawned in. We have to grab the skulls to break it out, but that's not too bad. Just grab the skulls, place them on the pedestal, realize V2 is multiplying via mitosis and that you are never safe, and open the arena so V2 can be free, and then drop it into the pit at the start of the level, skipping the fight and letting us move on from Limbo. Level 2-1 is a freebie. The challenge that the level itself provides is to not open any normal doors, and that means the level is designed to where you can skip most of it. Turns out, with the freeze frame, you can skip all of it, making this level essentially no different to having no Radiance level applied whatsoever. Alright, so level 2-2, it's built for speedrunning in under a minute, so the explanation will also be as such. Clear the 3 power boxes in the first area, skip the enemies, skip the spiral staircase, get stuck in the rail cannon room since everything has much more health and the strays don't die to one rail cannon shot, break the 3 power boxes in the final area, run for your life to the exit, and leave. Okay, 2-3. A little more difficult, so we're staying here a bit longer. The level contains 2 mind flares, and I don't think we'll be able to kill either one of them, so our goal here is to exit via the secret level. Yeah, around this time was when I decided that all exits count, which would have saved me a lot of pain in 1-1, but that's besides the point. We cheese the first room since the strays hurt, break the 3rd power box, it makes sense, trust me, and move on to the waterfall room. Here, after trying a few different strategies, I hide in the 1st power box room, break it, and kill all the enemies from here since they can't reach me. Then I grab the blue skull and head to the big room that has the 2nd power box. I break it, drain the water, backtrack to the secret exit, and beat the level. Oh boy, 2-4. This level took me a while to figure out. So much so that I actually broke the entire recording into 2 segments, totaling over an hour long. I first tried just going through the normal path since I figured, oh, the hand can't be that hard, right? It very much is that hard. I don't know if it's possible, and if so, I certainly can't do it. So instead, I just used the starting door to clip outside the map and hit the checkpoint at the boss arena. Here I got stuck. Again. First I observed Mr. Dead over here and realized that it's not the punches I'm concerned about, it's the black hole he summons. Normally you get hit and go down to 1 HP, but due to how fast it spawns, it can bring you down to 1 HP and then spawn again to kill you before the hard damage has even started to go away. So my first solution was to simply go out of bounds and attack Minos at point-blank range. The issue is, he can just hit you with the fists anyways since they start dealing damage on the backswing. And the parasites from his eyes might kill me in phase 2 anyways, so I stopped with that idea. Well, then, in that case, what do we do? Well, the melee parries scale with damage, since they deal 5 damage plus the damage of the original attack. At least, that's the explanation I've heard, and it's plausible enough, so I'm running with it. This, along with the fact that Minos takes 5 times the damage from parries, means that we can literally just attempt to parry him to death. But we don't have to just hope that he punches us a couple times in a row, since for some reason the black hole will bug out sometimes, resulting in it just sitting in the middle of the arena unable to move. This means that phase 2, we can also just hide ourselves in a corner and be largely invincible. Then we just whittle away Minos, and we have beaten the Lust Lair. Gluttony, here we go. The first room holds one Maurice, so I just kind of hoped for a chargeback and went on to the next room. My first time in the level, I accidentally triggered the spawns in the second room, locking me out of trying to bypass it by going back to checkpoint. I had to reset since Mind Flare, among other things, and after a couple attempts I searched some speedrun strategies used, since those can help me skip portions of the level or, in some cases, the whole level entirely. I tried the thing where you can clip through the door on the first room where Maurice is at, but I gave up after a little bit. Trying the second room again, I realized I could actually just go over the spawn trigger and skip the whole room, leading me to the 3 Cerberus fight. This fight is very easy, as while I can't get Cerberus to dash through the wall to its demise, I can sit in the pool of blood and ricochet them to death. This led me to the funny staircase room, where I can just leave through the P-1 exit. And I did look to see if you could keep going normally, but you can't skip the next room's encounter, and the final room of this level has a Mind Flare you have to fight anyways, so I just went with the P-1 exit. Oh, 3-2. This is where our streak of luck ends. Yeah, this level just isn't possible. Gabriel is just simply too fast, and too healthy. I asked the ULTRAKILL community if there was any known cheese for Gabriel, but they just told me there wasn't. So, unfortunately, this is where the win streak must end. An unfortunate close to Act 1. "4-1 is the exact same as 2-1, but even more so. The level challenge is to not have any enemies spawn, meaning that the level is built so that you can go through the entire thing with 0 enemies spawning, making it the same at Radiance 10 as it would be just in a regular playthrough. Okay, 4-2. The first real level of Act 2. So, first approaching this level, I forgot that 4-S was a thing and was trying to figure out how to beat this level normally. You can use rocket riding to skip to the place with the skull rooms on each side, but afterwards it gets tricky. If a certain speedrun strat is still usable, you can grab both skulls through the glass doors around the pedestals and trigger the insurrectionist fight that way, then drop him through the glass panel to insta-kill him. The problems I had were 1, a skill issue, and 2, the Red Skull's enemy encounters. Even if I got both skulls, to drop the insurrectionists through the glass, I'd have to stand there for at least a second, and given this challenge, any enemy could obliterate me in that time. I can't kill all of them since a new wave spawns with a Virtue, something that is basically impossible for me to beat in most cases. Could I theoretically beat this level normally? Yeah, since I just have to get an enemy stuck long enough to where the insurrectionists can die via glass, but it'd take a while for me to get that down. Instead, I just remembered the secret level exit existed, and just went through that instead, since it saved me a lot of pain. Oh boy, 4-3. So, this level has a speedrun clip left in intentionally by the dev, so I use that to get to the final room immediately. The final room also has soap in it, so you'd think this level would be really easy then, right? I wish. Using the soap is about your only real method of killing enemies, and this room alone has a total of 4 Virtue spawns. This is the reason I said most cases last level, as this is like the only time I was able to bring down Virtues. What I did in this level was hop on top of the little pathways near the ceiling, so a majority of the enemies couldn't kill me. Killed the first Virtue as fast as possible, went back, killed the second Virtue that spawns in, slowly whittled away at the enemy numbers, triggered the next 2 Virtue spawns, killed them both as fast as possible, and then finish off the rest of the enemy spawns with the soap. That's a bit close for comfort. The second V2 fight is here, and this time with an unfortunate lack of bottomless pits. This level is impossible as far as I'm aware. I had 2 attempts where V2 got stuck outside the map and slowly died, but in both cases where V2 reached phase 2, the wall just, didn't break? having fun there, buddy? This makes 4-2 impossible to beat, though not for the same reason as 3-2, so that's another level to the tally. Alright, with that unsatisfying conclusion to greet over, we move on to Wrath, with the first level being decently easy. There's a clip in this one electrical room you can use to complete the level's challenge, and you can use the clip here to get over to the tunnel without having to unlock the 3-skull door. In the tunnel, you just go and exit through the secret entrance of 5-S and beat the first level of Wrath. This is as smooth sailing as Wrath will go. Okay, so 5-2 would be possible in certain patches, since some have the glitch that allows you to get to the blue skull without having to go through the rest of the level. However, all of this is done in the current patch, which means I'm unable to get the blue skull since the path to it requires the fighting of an idled virtue. If the clip is found, however, or at least a clip, this level is possible, since the ferryman will just take a coin and let you leave like that, and you don't have to fight any other enemies throughout the level. But for now, we start the streak of Wrath being pain. 5-3 actually allows for a decent amount of progress to be made, with it being the only other time I've successfully killed a virtue. It's all for naught, however, as the spiral staircase the level has contains, among other things, another idled virtue. The idol can be destroyed decently fast, but by then, the virtue will already be calling down orbital strikes on me, so it doesn't matter much. The level isn't possible. 5-4, the Leviathan fight. Typically viewed as the easiest final layer boss the game has to offer, I can't actually beat it. If I threw myself at it a bunch, it might be possible, since I suffer from a skill issue as I mentioned a while ago. But it just has too much health and attacks very fast, so for the time being we'll declare 5-4 impossible, ending Wrath with the worst percent of wins in a layer we've seen so far, being only 25%. Now we begin Heresy, the final layer before the challenge is finished. And 6-1 does not perform well. The first room I can't beat, but I think it is possible. There might be a bug in this patch that allows me to just go to the final room immediately, but I did some testing in the final room to see if that room was possible or not, and I don't think it is. The hideous masses, though, would sometimes bug out and stop attacking, making it possible to kill both of them. After that, though, the enemies that spawn are dangerous as well, making the final room very difficult to beat, if not impossible itself. And this is all assuming we can reach it. Again, there might be the bug to get there, but I don't know if that's in the current patch or not, and I certainly couldn't make it work. So, Heresy starts off with an impossible level. The final level, 6-2. The second Gabriel fight. Now, you'd think this level would be impossible like the first Gabriel fight, but, yeah, we can just not fight Mr. Gabriel and go on with our lives. Now, I did see if the fight was possible or not, because I was curious, and, no. So I just left through the P-2 door and finished this challenge with a success. And so that's the entire campaign of ULTRAKILL with Radiance 10. The levels that are not possible are 3-2, 4-4, 5-2, 5-3, 5-4, and 6-1. 5-2 can be beaten if a clip to the skull is found again, 4-2 might be possible but V2 would glitch out, and 5-4 could be possible with enough effort. 6-1 might be possible, but don't take my word on it. Also, if you're wondering about the Prime Sanctums, since I did go to both of them to beat certain levels, yeah. So that's everything. Thank you all for 100 subscribers. I think that's pretty neat. And, farewell.
you.